Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another fantastic Science Saturday. It's Science Saturday. Isn't this fun? I am in one of my favorite Science Saturday locations, my living room, because we are really excited to have an out of territory virtual guest. Gonna have a lot of fun today. And so, good morning. Who are you? What are you doing on my screen? Where are you and why are you?
Hi, good morning, Kitty. So I am Guilherme Corte. I am an assistant professor at Texas A&M University at Galveston, but before I was an assistant professor at University of the Virgin Islands.
Yes. Well,
What?
we miss you,
So,
but we're really excited to hear about what you're doing now. So, what are we talking about today?
so today we're gonna talk something that's very dear to me and everyone. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please go ahead. We are ready.
Because before we start, I would like to take this
Ooh.
opportunity to make a bit of a political statement.
Yes. All right. Starting
Okay,
strong.
don't worry, don't worry. It's not that type of politics that divide us. Instead, I'm going to talk about something that we all love. I'm going to talk today about sandy beaches.
Ooh.
Especially in the VI, right? You have so many beautiful beaches there that I missed so much.
Uh-huh.
So, sand beaches. Oops, oh, sorry. Everyone loves sandy beaches. So if you want to just relax, having a drink, do your meditation, play sports, surf, and it's very, very hard. Even someone doesn't like the sand in their shoes, they will still love a sandy beach screenshot at the back of their computer, right?
Uh-huh.
But at sandy beaches, they make up 1/3 of the world's coastlines. So they are by far the most widespread coastal ecosystems. They provide a lot of benefits to us, not only places to leisure, but here we have the CITES, which is the
Ooh.
Common International Classification of Ecosystem Services, which is basically the benefits that the natural ecosystems provide to us. And sandy beaches provide 56 out of 84 ecosystems described in their list. So almost 70%. And those benefits are cultural, provisioning, like, for example, fresh water. Sandy beaches purify, like filter a lot of water, regulating and maintenance. So sandy beaches are awesome.
Woo! I love it.
But there's always a but. Sandy beaches are very understudied.
Oh.
We have one example here from Ronald Nell. It's a South African researcher. In 2014, she assessed the number of studies in many coastal ecosystems, and they only found less than 3,000 studies on sandy beach ecosystems. And this including everything, management, ecology, geomorphology. If we compare with other ecosystems such as mangroves, coral reefs, and estuaries, that's up an order of magnitude of difference. And we'll say, okay, this was 10 years ago, so the situation has changed, not very much. We can see here the blue line, the number of sandy beach studies. This is the number of studies in different ecosystems per year, and the blue line is the sandy beaches. Sandy beaches remain the least studied coastal ecosystem. If you compare with mangroves,
really
they have like a complete different axis here. Coral reefs are not even there because everyone studies coral reefs, and the VI have amazing coral reef researchers. I was there in the UVI, and like Tyler Smith, Marilyn Brandt, and all their crew, they're doing awesome research on coral reefs. But the point is that a lot of people studied all these other ecosystems, but not many studying sandy beaches. And sandy beaches are not only understudied, they are threatened. They are trapped in this coastal squeeze where the impacts of climate change and human activities from the ocean and from the terrestrial habitats.
Right.
Right.
I love that you mentioned climate change impacts because it is my favorite and least favorite topic. But I think it's really important that we understand how this is affecting every single aspect of our lives, and also the lives of the whatever else lives at the beach, because it's not just humans.
Yes, exactly. And I'm going to share later a study on climate change impact on sandy beaches that we did in the VI.
Excellent. This is a great graphic, except for those factories. I don't like the factories in the back.
Yeah, me neither, but that's the impact. Huh? We think that things that happens in the land stays in the land, but actually they affect the whole ocean. Like they are transported, they are washed to the ocean and to our coastal ecosystems as well. So this would be a nice, beautiful sandy beach. So you would have like the ocean here, would have the interface between ocean, and then would have a preserved backshore, which is the dry zone, and would have dunes or would have vegetation. But usually what we have in most part of the world, it's something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the sand, the backshore of the upper part of the littoral active zone. So this would be the littoral active zone because there is a lot of exchange of materials and organisms between the ocean and the land. It's completely transformed.
Right.
So we lost the foredunes or the vegetation, and what usually happens, we break that balance, and then something like this happened. There is no more sediment to support a natural balance. Mm-hmm. So sandy beaches are eroding and affecting us, like our properties as well. Mm-hmm. Sandy beaches are also like affected by algal blooms that you know very well at VI, all the sargassum reaching out the shores, oil spills. Here, this is a big problem here in Texas.
Fingers crossed
tourism.
We haven't had oil spills here. Well, tourism, we have the sunscreen oil spills.
That's a bit better. Huh? That's a bit better, yeah. Tourism, even when we think we're doing something good, we may be impacting sandy beaches. For example, beach cleaning. This type of beach cleaning, it's very bad for beach ecosystems because it removes the sand and it removes all the life that can be found in that sand. Mm-hmm. So we're thinking we're doing something good, but especially when we use these heavy machineries, this can be very harmful. And as we mentioned, climate change. As a consequence of all these impacts, sandy beaches are at the brink. They are collapsing. Oof. Yeah. And I wanted to highlight this work here from 2020 when they mapped the state of the erosion of sandy beaches in the world. And they found that potential half of the world's beach may disappear by the end of the century if current projections remain, if the impacts of climate change, rising sea levels, storms, and all that. So we may lose 50% of the world's sandy beaches by the end of the century.
And that is us maintaining status quo. That's not it getting better or worse, which some days it feels like it's definitely getting worse.
Exactly. That's an important point. We may still not get there, but the way we are going, it seems that we are not doing our job properly. So my political statement here would be that sand beaches are neglected ecosystems. And the question is, why? Why, if they are so important, if everyone loves sandy beaches, if they provide us a lot of benefits, why we are neglecting them? I have two main reasons, or two main hypotheses here. The first one would be that people perceive sandy beaches as desert. And that makes a lot of sense, right? So, Kitty, when you look at this photo here, what do you see?
I see the ocean, and then I see blank sand, but we're in Science Saturday, so I know you're going to tell me it's not empty sand.
Exactly. But that's as you said, and most of the people, when I walk with my family, they think, okay, this is just piles of sand, water and piles of sand. There's nothing there. It's not like a coral reef that you dive in a coral reef and you see those beautiful colors and shapes and animals, right? But the thing is, sandy beach has a big and unique biodiversity. But this biodiversity lives inside the sediment.
Look at those worms.
Yeah, we have a lot of species that lives inside the sediment or underwater. For example, we have a lot of annelids, so polychaetes. They are beautiful. They are called marine worms, and that can have a bad connotation, but actually they are very important and beautiful. And they don't do any harm to us. We have a lot of gastropods or mollusks, gastropods, and bivalves that lives in sandy beaches, like the donax, which is the surf clam. We have a lot of crustaceans that inhabit sandy beaches and the nearby ecosystems. We have echinoderms, chordates, many species. Just to give you an example, so as you can probably know from my accent, I'm not American, I'm Brazilian. And before going to the VI, I was doing a postdoc in Brazil, and we sampled 90 sites along the coast of São Paulo,
so
which
you're
is a
saying
state
you
in
went to 90
Southeast
different
Brazil.
beaches for science.
Yeah, sorry?
You went to 90 different beaches for science.
Yes. Not yes. And we investigated like both the invertebrates and the vertebrates and the fish inhabiting those beaches. We found more than 170 species of invertebrates, just the macrobenthos, which is like the larger ones, inhabiting those 90 beaches, and 64 species of fish. So, okay, people may think there's nothing there, but actually,
that's a lot.
That's a lot. You can see like 172 species, 64 species of fish. That's a lot only in the stretch of the Brazilian coast. And here we're not even considering the tiny organisms we call like meiobenthos, which they're very tiny. They're smaller than 0.5 millimeter.
Wow.
So there is a huge biodiversity between the sand gram. If you want to, some colleagues of mine, they had a very nice book, YouTube video, which is called Life Between the Sand Grains. I'm going to share with you, or we can post after, which tells us about the meobenthic organisms and the diversity.
Wow.
So, and that we're not even considering like birds, that many species, bird species live on sandy beaches.
Look at how cute and fuzzy they are. Oh my goodness.
They are awesome. Have you seen this short video that Oscar winning?
Yes, it's so cute. Oh my goodness.
It is. And it's quite accurate because you can see the organisms burrowing in the sand. So, as you know, in VI, sandy beaches are very important for turtles. Turtles reproduce on sandy beaches. If we don't have sandy beaches, we're not gonna have turtles anymore. Look at this. This is part of our study there. We just put videos underwater, and you can see how many individuals and species are there. But usually we don't see because of the waves.
Right. That's really cool. I like that video.
And what about this one?
Whoa.
Let's see what's gonna happen.
Whoa! That was so cool.
Yeah. So sandy beaches, they're also like habitat for large predators. Don't worry that this chart we're not gonna attack us.
We
but
love
just so
sharks.
we can see.
It's okay. We love it.
And this was like 5 feet deep, so very near to the coastline. So my point here is that sandy beach has a lot of biodiversity, including invertebrates and vertebrates. And this biodiversity It's highly adapted to the sandy beach ecosystem. Here we have the ghost crab and another crustacean, Emerita brasiliensis. They both they can burrow very fast. Like this is an Emerita.
Ooh, gone.
How fast it goes.
Yeah.
Because they need to live within the sediment. Otherwise, they're going to be carried away by the waves or by the tides, right? So they are very adapted. This one, just so sandy beaches, there's not a lot of food resource there. So the organisms, they eat whatever they find. So this is the same species in very close locations. Those are sandhoppers, a type of crustacean. Look how fast they move. I'm just like tapping the sand with my feet there. And they jump. And you can see here, they are eating an insect, type of wasp. But in the other one, they are eating algae. So this is my dog, Clara.
That's important information.
So they move very fast and they eat whatever they find. That's an adaptation to live in the sand beach.
Oh my goodness, they're so small.
Yeah,
when you're
they are very
zoomed
small.
in on it, it looks much bigger.
No, they're quite small and they have like similar colors of the sand, right? So they are camouflage, and that's why we may not see them very frequently. Those species inhabiting sandy beach, they also have rhythms of activity. So imagine you're living on a sand beach. There is the tide that fluctuates half of the day. So half of the day you would be exposed to the sand and half of the day would be submerged. So these species may adapt to this tidal cycle. So the Tylus here, which is one of the very common species, an isopod, it's also a type of crustacean. It's active at night and low tide. When it's during the day and high tide, it is not active. It stays within the sediment. Why? Because when there is high tide, the fishes are there and they can eat the Tylus.
Dangerous.
And also when it is during the day, those fish can detect them higher. So they are more active at night and low tide because they will be less predated, right? Which is smart.
That is smart.
Another cool adaptations of sandy beach organisms, it's related to their respiration. So imagine you need the water to breathe, right? But then you have the tide, and half of the day you don't have water there, or not a lot of water. So you need to have very good respiration mechanisms. One of them is doing anaerobic metabolism, that you say you continue to do your metabolism without oxygen, and also you can have higher affinity with oxygen. And this marine worm here, Adenicola marina, it is super cool because it has hemoglobin as we do, but its hemoglobin can carry 40 times more oxygen than ours.
Wow.
So that means that they, even though there's not enough oxygen in the environment, they still are able to get that oxygen. And which is cool that, remember what happened in COVID? There's a lot of respiration problems. Many researchers are using the hemoglobin of that worm to our benefit, or to our benefit. So
interesting.
It's very, very interesting. So they showed that the hemoglobin from the lugworm Adenicola marina is an efficient therapeutical oxygen carrier for us. And many other studies have investigated this. So yes, sandy beaches are cool and they can save our lives. So
one really interesting that I was thinking about, so when people look at a beach and it looks completely empty, I was also thinking about the graph you showed with the active time where, these inhabitants are hiding during the day. And so their active cycles don't necessarily follow the active cycles of humans. And so we just think if we don't see it, it must not be there. But they are. They're
Exactly.
just conserving their oxygen and not getting eaten.
Exactly. Or they are just being careful and not being exposed to predators.
Right.
So we have the ghost crabs. They are more active at night as well.
I also hide from humans.
I do that sometimes as well. Yeah, so my second hypothesis for, because we don't have a lot of sandy beach studies, it's because it's very hard to study sandy beaches. We need to collect the sand, we need to take the sand to the lab, we need to sieve the sand to collect all the organisms because they are small. Sometimes it can be dangerous, like here we're trying to sample the subtidal zone and then you have waves that hit you. So that's another problem. But sand beach studies, they don't need to be that hard and that dangerous. What about the VI? So we have like, everyone can think, okay, what about the Virgin Islands? Probably the first thing that will come to their mind, it's something like this, right? Beautiful beaches, white sand, crystal clear waters. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world. But sandy beaches in the VI also are completely understudied. Like I Google it, I just go and the Google Scholar, US VI sandy beach ecology, and there was nothing there. Almost no study about US VI sandy beaches. One of the first ones we did with colleagues from the University of the Virgin Islands, so Kaylee, Ellie, Tenai, which is in the PNR now, and Christine, we studied how urbanization impacts those crabs, the Ocypode quadrata, which is this species here. What did we do? That was part of Kaylee's master thesis.
I remember that.
Yeah, so Kaylee sampled 8 beaches in the VI in St. Thomas. 4 of them were more preserved and 4 of them more urbanized. She found, so we consider high impact and low impact sites. She found that burrows per square meter, that's an abundance of ghost crabs, it decreases with the number of visitors. So urbanization is one of the main forces behind ghost crab population dynamics, and high urbanization negatively impact ghost crab populations in St. Thomas. And tourism visitors, probably it's one of the factors impacting the most. And I said that we would talk about climate change. I was there in 2023, and I don't know if you remember, I was very scared of Hurricane Lee if they would hit the island. Yeah, so I'm from Brazil. I'm used to whatever we can have. Like we have lots of tropical diseases, so I'm okay with Zika, dengue, chikungunya. I have been robbed many times, but hurricane, that's new to me. I was sincerely scared. And I remember my landlord told me, hey, we need to remove the things of the yard because if it hits a huge hurricane, everything becomes like a bullet. And I've heard all these stories about Irma and Maria. So say, oh my God, I hope it doesn't hit us. But at the same time, I think this is awesome to do some study, right? If something happens, it would be good to know how it would affect the natural ecosystems as well. So once we knew that the hurricane would not make a landfall, I said, this is perfect, but it's still like the swell, the waves would hit the VI. So I said, this is perfect to see what happens before and after the hurricane. But I didn't have much time or resources. So I needed a MacGyver type of investigation, something that could be done quick and fast. Like, I don't know if some people that are watching this, they don't remember MacGyver, the young ones probably.
I'm a big MacGyver fan.
Yeah, the guy used to save the world using paper clips and bubble gums.
Yes.
So I needed a MacGyver style study that could do with basic equipment. And I also needed help. So I was teaching marine ecology at UVI at the time. And I went to some of the students, awesome students of the VI, and say, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Let's do some field work. And they all said, yes, let's do it.
Yes.
I didn't tell them at first that we should meet at 5 a.m., but they were all at 5 a.m. the next day. So we sampled 5 sandy beaches of those ones that Kaylee had sampled before. So Stumpy, Santa Maria, Lindbergh, Koki, and Sapphire. And again, we focus on ghost crab. We found that, so we sampled the day before, the swell, the waves hit the island, 3 days after, and 5 weeks after, the same sites. We thought from the day before to 3 days after the hurricane, the abundance or the density of burrows of ghost crabs reduced in every site. So the waves related to Hurricane Lee sharply reduced abundance of ghost crabs. These reductions range from 50 to 98%.
Wow.
In Koki, for example, we only found 1 burrow after the storm. But 5 weeks after, the numbers bounced back. So densities rebounded to pre-hurricane levels in every sand beach. We also found that distribution of ghost crabs in the sand beach changed. So initially, the burrows were clustered in the upper beach, but over time, they redistributed more evenly across the shore. So it was evenly distributed after the hurricane. It was clustered on the upper zone, but then it redistributed again. The same thing with burrows, it went back. After 5 weeks, it returned to the previous condition. And this recovery was more intense in non-urbanized sandy beaches, like Stumpy and Santa Maria. So the main message here would be that sand beaches are strongly affected by storm surge associated with climatic extreme events, with climatic events, but they may return to previous states within a few weeks. Here talking about this species only. We don't know what happens to other ones.
Right.
And these results were published in a paper just at the beginning of this year,
Yay.
which the first author is Miranda. She's currently a master student at the University of the Virgin Islands.
Very cool.
So, okay, sand beaches are understudied and threatened. What can we do? The first thing would be to increase the number of studies, right? We need to understand sand beaches better. We cannot save or preserve something that we don't understand. So we need to invest more in sand beach research. We also need to translate science, and this is why I'm so excited to be here with you today. We need to tell people, hey, sandy beaches are not just pile of sands. They have a lot of biodiversity. They provide a lot of benefits to us. If we lose them, we're not going to have coastal protection. We're not going to have water purification on the coast. We may lose fishing resources, right? Our coastlines will be completely destroyed. So we need to make people more aware of these impacts and the importance of sandy beaches. That's the only way that we can give beaches finally their day in the sun. And this is a paper from 2010. This is not new.
Right.
So some people say, hey, let's pay attention to sandy beach, and that's been going on for many years, but we are still not there yet. So this is my email. If anyone would like to reach out, talk more, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
That is amazing. I think it's really interesting to think about. I mean, as you said, there is a lot of coral research. You know, specifically here in the Virgin Islands, we have amazing coral scientists here at Science Saturday. We've done a lot of Science Saturdays about coral and also mangroves. And we talk about their ecosystem services as protecting our shorelines. And so we have this sandwich of research and this sandwich of protection, but we're not spending a lot of time researching the middle, the sandy beaches. So we have a question in the chat. Joe wants to know, hey Joe, how did the urbanization affect the recovery of crab densities? And is there a causal link to recovery timing? That is
So,
a sciencey question, Joe. You know I can't answer that. It's for Guy.
so the urbanization effect, the main thing was the recovery was stronger in the more preserved sand beaches, especially in Santa Maria. Because what happened? The ghost crabs were impacted by the waves, but they are very mobile. They walk. So many of them moved to the upper zones, to the backshore, and then they went back. But in those urbanized sandy beaches like Koki, Sapphire, there's a lot of constructions on the backshore. So the ghost crabs could not go there and then return.
Right.
And that's why Stumpy also, the recovery was not, it was also, the density is lower because if you've seen in Stumpy, the back of the beach has like a cliff. It's very rocky. It's not so open as Santa Maria. So when we have this armored backshore, when there is no space for ghost crabs to move, it impacts both the density and the recovery. So probably the population will not have a lot of individuals that can repopulate again.
So do you think that the crabs are dying and then repopulating, or just all being squished out somewhere different and not able to be in their homes?
My best guess would be both. Some of them are being directly impacted, but some of them are just moving and then they come back. But so they can do this migration, it needs to be space in the backshore. Right. When we build right there on the sand beach, we completely block this.
There's no movement for them.
Yeah, no place for them where they can go to.
Yep, this is another reason we need to protect our coastlines. Public access for ghost crabs.
I want to say, like, in the UVI, there's a Greg Winnell. He's doing some awesome research with sandy beaches, not so focused on the ecosystems, but focusing on coastal erosion.
Yes. Yeah. Excellent. That's really cool. So we need to study sandy beaches more. But a lot of us are not scientists, are not researchers. And you had your section on what can we do. But as somebody who's watching Science Saturday, whether you're a student or a parent or just a fascinated community member, but not a scientist, what is one thing that you want us to do to protect our sandy beaches and their tiny residents and bigger residents?
Okay. The first thing would be understand the value of sandy beach. Don't think that, there's worms or that crabs, because the names, like, think about worms, marine worms, or sand fleas. Their names are not very good, right?
Not very good marketing, no.
Yeah, but they are very important and they are not harmful. So we need to understand that this biodiversity is good for us. And we also need to understand, like, the connections between sand beach and the marine environment. So we cannot build our houses right there on the backshore because everyone wants to live by the water. If we do that, that's going to completely compromise the balance of sediment and organisms. Right. And there's also many other, like, citizen sciences initiatives that, as I said, sand beach research can be done, like, very simply. And just by looking for those initiatives, we can do a lot. And those data produced by citizen scientists, they are very, very important.
Cool, excellent. All right, so we have learned about the tiny inhabitants on the beach. We have learned about the coastal squeeze. I really like that graphic. I might steal that from you. Just for fun. I won't do anything with it. But this has been really amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a lot of fun. I look forward to next time I go to the beach. I am going to think about all of the inhabitants in the sand, and I really hope that a shark comes up and says hi as I'm in the shallow water. So thank you. It has been so much fun. This time has absolutely flown by. I can't believe it's been 35 minutes. I keep on thinking that we're like 10 minutes in. Everyone who is joining us live, thank you so much for joining. It has been so much fun. And if you are watching this later, not live, please still put questions in the chat. We will come back and look at it. And you promised us a link to a video, to a YouTube video. So we're going to look for that too. So everyone have a beautiful day. Get out there, enjoy your sandy beaches, and say hello to some tiny little beach creatures. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you next month for another Science Saturday. Bye.
Thank you.